Hello, and welcome to Yes, I Belong in Tech, the live stream from the London Digital Jobs and Skills Hub. My name's Olympia. I'm the director of the London Digital Jobs and Skills Hub, and I'm delighted to welcome both those of you viewing live, but also those of you watching on catch up. Who are here to celebrate women in tech, to explore some of the issues that women in tech face, and to hopefully give inspiration and reassurance for those of you that are starting on that journey. I'm really delighted to be joined today by Javaria. Hello, Javaria, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Unfortunately, we were supposed to be being joined by Victory and Zineb as well, and both of them have come down with something. So you're holding the fort, representing in this part of the event the amazing women in tech. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're feeling all right as well. I hope you're feeling well.
Yeah, I am. Good, thankfully.
Excellent. So yes, we've got lots of people watching live, and it's great to have you with us. Thank you for joining. I'm actually calling from North London, quite near Tottenham. Whereabouts are you, Javaria?
I'm in Surrey right now.
Surrey, amazing, beautiful. Was it? So yeah, if you're watching live, please do tell us where you are viewing from. It's great to hear from you all, and yeah, tell us where you're watching from. What kind of weather was it in Surrey today? It wouldn't be a British chat without some weather. So please, it was a lovely day here. What about you?
It was actually kind of cold here. Yeah, Surrey is very cold. I'm used to more like London weather. I know London's cold too, but I kind of feel like Surrey is more cold. So
you've got fewer people to keep you warm.
Exactly.
Great. And for those of you that, so yeah, if you're watching live, you can comment on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch. But if you are watching and have questions that come to you and you're watching on catch up, then please do email us at londonhub@generation.org, and we can pick up your questions later. I'm seeing some of the comments coming in. There's someone else, Kitty, watching in Surrey as well. Hello, Kitty. Selena from Birmingham and Manchester. Elita, you're just around the corner from me. Tottenham represent, excellent. Angelique in London, and Haspak in Surrey as well. So yeah, some people hope just down the road from both of us, which is very nice. I'm just filling a little bit of time so we get our live viewers tuning in. And I've got one last question before we get going, one sort of slightly silly question. I had been talking with Ashley, who's one of our guests coming on later, about what we do to switch off and to relax and to express ourselves. And I've recently started doing pottery, and so making bowls and cups. And I'll let Ashley tell us what her hobby is. But Javaria, do you have any hobbies? And those of you watching, do you have any hobbies that help you switch off? And
so when I switch off, I don't actually like want to do anything. I want to be as lazy as possible. I want to sit on my sofa. I want to watch TV or YouTube or something.
Yeah.
I don't have to use my brain in any way. That doesn't really sound like a great answer, but no. I enjoy just when you switch off properly. Like, yeah. Don't think, don't do anything.
Yeah, that's definitely my like day-to-day switch off at the end of the day. That's really a big way for me to relax. And yeah, that's kind of how I recharge at the end of every day. But what I found with pottery is that there's something about it. You sort of enter this state where you can't think. Sometimes when you're watching TV, you can still think a bit about work, but it will just all go wrong if you're still tense or thinking about something. And I love that you almost have to be relaxed to do it, which really works for me anyway. Great. Okay. Well, it looks like we've had a few more people join us. Hello and welcome. Do let us know where you're watching from. Rukia from London. Hi, welcome. And Jubin from Portsmouth. Hello. So yeah, let's kick off with the content proper. So Javaria, I mentioned that you're our representative from our boot camps. So, well, let's start there. What's the relationship between you and Generation, who host the London Digital Jobs and Skills Hub? Tell us a little bit about how you got started in tech.
So yeah, I graduated from uni. I did it in sort of a computer science related field. It's called creative computing. But after I graduated, it took me a while before I was able to get a job. And I think especially in this industry, if you have any kind of gap in your CV, and a lot of young people do, especially whether you have a degree or not, and you're trying to break into the industry, I think a lot of people you get judged when you're struggling to find the job, the gap's building, and then the gap's getting bigger, and then people are like stigmatizing you like even more. So then one day I was browsing on like the Prince's Trust, and a Generation ad came up, and I'm part of the first boot camp, so the first AWS boot camp that they did, where they were training young people how to like maintain and handle AWS services. So it was really cool. I went to both of the AWS headquarters. We got our training there. It was very intense. We had to basically learn an entire AWS syllabus full of like all of their like God knows how many services, all their labs and everything. There was like a big test at the end, interview practices. Yeah, that's my relationship with Generation. I'm basically like an alumni. I graduated from their first boot camp.
Amazing. Wow. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and where you're working now.
So from Generation, because after you sort of complete the boot camp, towards the end, they help you sort of get interviews for different companies. And I interviewed at Direct Line at that time. And, thanks to the boot camp and all the help from everyone, I managed to get a job at Direct Line at that time. And then since then, I've just kind of gone up, the ladder, and I'm still a systems engineer, but now I work for Green Flag.
Amazing. Tell me a little bit about what a systems engineer does.
So systems engineer is just basically another way of like saying you maintain the infrastructure at a company. So a company will have, like, let's say apps, they'll have websites, and a lot of those services, you may not realize it, but they run on a cloud. So my job is basically all the apps and the websites that you might use. I keep them alive.
Amazing. And is that predominantly the client-facing apps, or is that sort of the services that keep staff engaged and able to do their jobs?
So within the company, you'll have different teams. So we do actually have a team that maintain the staff side of like their apps and their sort of side of the websites. But the team that I'm on is customer facing. So I deal with the customer side of the apps and the websites.
Oh, great. And so you mentioned that you did a creative computing degree. Is computing and technology something that you've always been interested in?
Yeah, I think even just when I was a little girl, you can see pictures of me in like nursery next to those like really old brick PCs that used to be in my time. I'm assuming a lot of the people watching this might be a lot younger than I am. I don't know, but when I was younger, they were like these block PCs. And even in school, I always did IT. I like going in the library just to like go into computers and stuff. I'd make websites for fun, just as a hobby when I was a kid. So I was a bit one of those sort of boring, nerdy kids. But I just always liked it. I enjoyed it. It was fun for me. Yeah, I chose it as a degree. You may not realize it, and maybe a lot of other women don't realize it as well. But because there's such a shortage of women going into the tech industry, if you are interested in studying it, there's a lot of universities out there that offer you scholarships. And all you have to do is go on those university websites. And I guarantee you there's nearly always a page where it goes women in this sort of field. And I'm one of them. I got a scholarship to go to uni to be able to study tech. And so no, I'm saying it because I didn't know that they did that stuff at the time. So I'm saying it in this. So if anyone else is interested and maybe you want to experience it, they also, even if you just want to make up your mind about it, but you don't want to make that commitment. Because I was unsure in the beginning too. Because when I was younger, I was like, I don't know anything about computer science. It sounds really hard. I think I'll probably be the only girl there. Do I really want to pursue this sort of field? And a lot of the unis, they do like open days. And not just unis, I'm sure even if you just Google like random events, you probably find tech events that you can go to, workshops.
Yeah, well, we're later in the show. We're also going to talk about apprenticeships, which is another way into these sorts of careers as well. But yes, and obviously the boot camps that you mentioned that you took as well. So yeah, there's lots of different ways in, and we're going to talk about some of those. Was that something that you were worried about, being the only woman on the course, and how did that? Well, and also now in the workplace, are you the only woman in your department, and does that affect you?
So I was worried initially because I was like, oh, I'm not only going to be the only woman there. There's a chance that I might be the only brown girl there. I might be the only girl in headscarf there. And obviously, when you look very different to everyone else in the room, you're not sure how you'll get treated. So I was a bit nervous about, I don't know if I'm going to fit in, will I get accepted, type of thing. So I think my previous company, I was the only girl in the team, but personally, everyone was still really nice, even though I was the only girl in the team. Where I work right now, there's actually like 4 or 5 other women in the system engineering team. So it's quite balanced. It's quite 50-50. So I'm quite fortunate for that, because I know there's still a lot of companies out there that they probably still have just one woman in their team. So that's probably, they got to do some work on that to make it a little bit more diverse.
Yeah, definitely. Well, diversity, as you said, it's not just about women in tech, but then there's that sort of intersectionality of being a woman of color, and sort of the additional not challenges necessarily, but the additional pressure that you may feel from that. So it's good to hear that you're supported in your team. What kind of what's the work culture like within your organization? And are there many, say, sort of support groups for women in tech particularly? Is that something that you're particularly interested in exploring?
They're quite good with it. They sort of send emails sort of on the regular about events that they're doing, not just for women, but just, any kind of minority group or anyone who might be different. You always see events that they are doing. So they're quite good for that. I won't lie to you, I'm a bit lazy. I don't really like show up to those types of events. But even if you don't show up to the events and things, like, you're in an industry where there's so many like other female engineers, and you just kind of build your own support network like amongst each other. And I think, wherever you work, you're always uplifting each other, supporting each other. You nominate each other for awards, so that, to give people confidence. So that type of thing. You develop this community amongst yourselves where you work. And even in the boot camp, we had that there as well. All the girls would always be like supporting each other, encouraging each other. If anyone ever like put themselves down in any way, or was not feeling very confident, we'd always like hype each other up and be like, you're doing really good.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear that you sort of, obviously, as you said, there are these sort of ready-made networks, or sort of, or maybe even corporately organized networks, but that's not something that's resonated and spoken to you. But you've still created your own support network. So it's not that you don't need a support network. It's just that maybe it feels more authentic. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's interesting to hear that you're sort of creating that network for yourself rather than relying on the existing one.
They're both good. It's just down to like the person, if you want to do those things too, you can.
Yeah, definitely. And so tell me a little bit about any sort of mentoring or any role models that you found within your organization that have helped you.
In regards to mentors, it sounds a bit bad because it's like they're still the male engineers, but that's just because people that I've worked with, at least especially for my first company, they were mostly men, but they were senior engineers. And I remember when I first joined in my first role, one of the mentors that I had, he was just one of the nicest people ever. And I think, because even with the boot camp training, and you might know a lot and you have all this practice, but then when you go into a working environment and you've been assigned like, really big projects and everything, it's slightly different, because now you're really, you've dived straight into it. So one thing he really did for me is he made it okay for me to be able to ask questions. And I really appreciated that. He was almost like he would never get annoyed, no matter like how many questions I had, no matter what I wanted to ask. He'd even sit there like, in his lunch break or maybe even after, and he would like talk through and he would explain like AWS principles or Python principles, Linux. Like he'll just go deeper into it. And because he's been in the industry for like so many years, because he started out off like very young, he just had so much like wisdom and knowledge about it. And one thing I really liked as well is, because your usual sort of stereotype or assumption is like that older like guy in the workplace might not be so supportive of women or that type of thing, but he was very happy to sort of see that I was different. I was the only girl in the team, and he was so happy every time he saw that I was like succeeding and stuff. I did have a couple moments in my first job where sometimes I would say something and another engineer would kind of not like dismiss what I was saying at that time, but kind of not fully trust me, or they might not fully agree with the point that I might be saying in that meeting. And I remember, that senior engineer, he would always back me up as well. And he'd always be like, no, she's right.
That's
you should
amazing.
listen to her.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that sounds like true allyship and true, if we're going to get more representation and more diversity in the tech industry, and more representation of women, then that's not just a problem for women to solve. That needs allies exactly like that mentor. That sounds amazing. And have you had the opportunity to do any sort of, pass it forward, do any mentoring yourself in your role? Yeah.
I think for me, the mentorship that I've sort of done is, whenever anyone has asked me for questions like at work, I always try my best, because I know some people, they can get annoyed if you ever ask them questions or if they're stuck or anything, but I know what it's like to be a beginner. And I know what it's like to be a bit confused about something initially. So one thing I always try to do is, if people need help at work or if they have a question, if they're not sure about something, I always try my best not to make them feel bad about it. I want them to feel like they can come to me and they can ask me. I also get a lot of girls coming up to me to ask me for advice about how to become a systems engineer, or how they can get into AWS, or if they want to get into coding, like what do they need to do. So I do try my best to sort of give them whatever advice I can give them.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Well, you're going to be sticking around, and if any of our viewers have any questions for you, then please do type them in, and we'll be answering them in a bit. But for now, we're going to go over to a pre-recorded section, so you'll see me in a different outfit, and you can see the messy part of my house. I'm in the clean bit, but that's what the rest of my house looks like, is the messy bit. So we're going to be hearing from Oli Ikechi D'Amico, who is a partner at EY. And I mean, I hope you fall in love with her as much as I have done. Ronan, if you could play the video.
Well, hi, Ollie. It's also really nice to see you. I am in Singapore.
Amazing. Wow. So you're, tell me a bit about what what you do and what you're doing out in Singapore.
Yeah, sure. So I work for a company called Ernst & Young, one of the biggest consultancy firms in the world. So really excited. I've been out in Singapore for the last year with my family. Prior to Ernst & Young, I was at Accenture. So Accenture being another of the world's largest,
just another massive company, yeah.
Just another one, yeah. Just shy of 1 million people, but yeah, another really large firm. And I spent my entire career with Accenture, actually, so from graduation all the way up until, I guess, 13 years, which is when I left Accenture last year. And I guess a bit about me. At Accenture, I was leading our what we call restructuring practice, which is basically anything to do with mergers, acquisitions, etc. And I was leading that for the capital markets practice in the UK. But my other role in the UK was running innovation for capital markets, so working with a number of fintechs and running a number of innovative innovations internally to enhance that kind of creativity amongst our workforce. And I joined Ernst & Young actually in the UK, so I joined the UK practice last year, but I've been seconded over to Singapore, which is super exciting. Singapore is definitely a place that thrives on innovation. It thrives on consumer behaviors. And quite frankly, when you think about the consumer and, you know, individuals, you and I, think about how many things we access on a daily basis that require some form of innovative, that requires some form of innovation. And largely a lot of that innovation that we're seeing here is tech. So, you know, I'm kind of leading you nicely into the introduction for today's discussion, but it's a super nice place to be. And I am I'm leading our strategy and transactions practice over here across the Asia Pac region for capital markets. And strategy and transactions is similar to my background. So again, mergers, acquisitions, business divestments, wind downs, etc. And I'd say a large part of that, again, thinking about the tech focus here, a large portion of, you know, what one has to think about when they're thinking about trying to shut down a part of a business or merge a business, etc., is actually technology. It's probably one of the hardest parts of any type of transaction that can run. So that is what I spend a lot of my time doing, as well as looking after family.
Yeah. Which we can hear in the background. Yeah,
exactly.
We love it. Thomas, tell us a little about your kids as well.
Oh, sure. Pleasure. So I am the proud mummy of 2 little girls. So our firstborn is 21 months, and newborn baby that you can probably hear is 9 weeks old, or 9 weeks young, as I like to say. And I guess, you know, again, the thing for me having 2 girls is it's so important as a female myself, and as a female in tech, and who is an advocate for creativity and innovation, and also pushing boundaries and pushing this, you know, moving away from the status quo. It's really important to me as a mother of 2 girls to ensure that they have role models that I probably didn't have as I was growing up, and they feel well equipped to do anything that they might want to set their mind to. So again, you know, I've given you so many different avenues, haven't I?
And what's incredible is
I'm passionate about the topic, so I'm really happy to be here.
But what's incredible is that you still haven't even talked about one of the things that we are going to talk about, which is your own business, which you set up a year
exactly.
ago.
You know, as you do, I think you don't have a baby and you set up a business at this, like, literally in the same week. It's crazy. But again, I think it all comes round back to this discussion of, you know, of females actually, and underrepresented groups. In positions where actually there's not that much representation. And that's really one of the triggers for me setting up what I call Fully Bossed, my business. And this really stemmed from getting promoted rather quickly to partner at Accenture. So I made partner in just over 10 years from graduating in this, you know, large consultancy firm, which has a very, very strong tech and innovative background to it, Accenture. So here's me making partner, and I'm relatively young at the time. I'm a female. I'm a Black female. All of those things are not necessarily things that you've seen before, particularly when all of my clients were in financial services. Right, so all you've got to do is go down to bank in the UK or Canary Wharf, and you'll see there's not that many senior female leaders, let alone senior female leaders of colour, etc., etc. So I think when when that happened, I had a lot of people reach out to me. Not just females, but young people, people from underrepresented backgrounds, yes, females as well. And also my peers even, and they just said thank you, and they just said, you've kind of inspired me to do that. I can't believe that happened. Like, how did you do it? And I think so. I got so many questions around the how. How was it possible for you to kind of accelerate in your career, particularly with the background that you have, which is just not to say that you can't do it. It's just to say that we don't see it a lot. And then I started getting interviewed a lot, and that question would always come up. And, I think I just decided to share some of my kind of guidance, my tips in a blog. But then as I was kind of trying to, I guess, organize my thoughts around how I would do this blog, I realized that I had something really cool, which was an actual service. I had a service. And that's when I said, okay, this is actually a company. It's not a blog. And that's what we did. We launched Fully Bossed just over a year ago. And the whole mission, our entire mission, is around accelerating careers using soft skills. So I cannot wait to get fully uncovered on this topic and hopefully inspire your amazing audience that you have today, because it's all possible. It's all possible, and it's even easier if you know how.
Amazing. So, well, let's get stuck into it. Please share some of your pearls of wisdom about soft skills.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, when I started thinking about, okay, so that question, how did you make it through to be a senior partner in a large, corporate organization, at the rate in which you did? And I started thinking about that and thinking about my answers, and there seemed to be a pattern in what I was writing down and what I was speaking to other people. And that pattern was simply soft skills. And I realized it wasn't because I was this expert in running transactions, running a merger or an acquisition or a divestment for a large financial institution. It was actually down to things which are less tangible. Sometimes soft skills can be more tangible, but it was ultimately down to a range of different soft skills. Communication, my ability to seek sponsorship, my ability to put myself out there, my ability to tell a story, my ability to persuade, my ability to influence, all of these different things, work with different teams, delegate, not take on everything myself, believe that I can actually do something, right, which is the mindset. So many different things. And I started thinking about the power of all of those soft skills compared to my ability to, structure a process and get a task done using my technical abilities. And I realized that there was so much emphasis in really accelerating one's career, getting that promotion, getting that, being hired, or whatever it was. There's so much emphasis in your ability to do those things based on soft skills. And the weight in terms of, do we encourage soft skills enough in the workplace, let alone, in education, in, the educational institutions, didn't feel balanced to me. And I felt like there was a really big gap. There was a really big gap on actually articulating how important soft skills are, because guess what? When I review with my colleagues all of the different names of people in the teams who are up for promotion, or who we are considering for promotion, or we are considering to hire, or whatever the performance review metric might be, we are always thinking about the soft skills. It was always about the, you know, the potential of somebody, or you know, that when you kind of are evaluating, the soft skills are so important, but we still don't send people on these courses to actually learn soft skills. So I started asking a lot of my clients, senior clients in their roles, in their respective roles for really large organizations, you know, how they got to the top of their, you know, of their kind of field. And I didn't lead them. I didn't even mention soft skills, but the answers that they gave were basically soft skills. Not one of them said, well, you know, I did this financial exam and, you know, became a really finance expert. Not one of them said that. They were talking about soft skills. They were talking about the ability to, you know, have empathy when they were leading, and really, you know, have authenticity in how they speak. You know, it was a variety of different things, but not one of them focused on a technical skill, right? Because guess what? You can train that. We can learn that, right? But the soft skills are the things that I think ultimately get overlooked, which is why I really wanted to put a bit of emphasis on them, because they're so important. They're so important.
Yeah. So and so Philly Bost, I think, does coaching, which is a paid for program, but you know, many of our audience might not be able to afford that, but you are providing lots of guidance and the blog posts that you mentioned for free over on your website as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We actually focus on 4 core categories of soft skills, because when I started writing down all of the kind of things that were important for me, and I tested that with others, I to come up with something credible, I started just writing down single words on a piece of paper. And then as I was looking at the words, as I said, they were all soft skills. So then I said, okay, there must be a way to group these soft skills. That's you know, the consultant in me wanted to
take a step back.
Yeah, exactly. I needed an Excel. so basically, I came up with these 4 groups of soft skills. So the first one is mindset, strengthening how you think. The second one was branding, strengthening how other people see you. The third, storytelling, strengthening your ability to communicate. And the fourth is orchestration. So strengthening your ability to just make things happen. And when I think about any different skill, even to this day, you know, 13 months on, to this day, if I think of a soft skill, I always am able to put it into one of those 4. So those are the 4 soft skills that we kind of we focus on, and each one of those soft skills has 3 different sub pillars of soft skills, and then each one of those has more soft skills underneath it. So it's basically just a framework that we have created, and we have coaching that you know revolves around the framework. We have a training academy as well, which I'm super excited about. And we have, as you said, we have a whole bunch of free content. Actually, we've got over probably 30 different blogs with a whole pipeline of blogs to come. And then we've got over like 300 videos across all of our social media networks, and our website, which again people can access for free. So yes, we are all over soft skills.
I could talk to you all day about this. And unfortunately, we are running out of time. But the one thing before we go, I wanted to ask you. You know, you are such an impressive and incredible woman. Have you ever felt like you're not able to do this? You know, do you have any moments of weakness? Please give me something.
Yes, I do. And you know, when you asked me this question, I did. You actually you asked me twice, because I think you could tell on my face I was trying to think about something. You were like, is this question going to resonate? And I think the reason I paused was because I no longer have that imposter syndrome. But let me tell you how, right? Because it's not that I didn't have it. I had to recall moments. And sometimes I do think, oh, wow, I'm like, oh my God, like I am like this person who, you know, I come across as a really good speaker, I hope, because I'm really passionate about speaking. But I tell you what, I never used to. for example, the beginning of my career, you couldn't get me to say my name. When I tell people this now, they laugh. They're like, no way. I'm like, yes. Me, who is okay speaking now, on a stage, in like one-on-one, in front of 1,000 people, 10,000 people, I'm all good for it, you could never have asked me to even sit around a table and introduce myself just by saying my name and my role. I would have palpitations right before I'm about to speak. So the fact that it's so foreign to me, right? It's not because it never happened. It's just because I guess I've learned how to deal with that. And I think deep down there was always the imposter syndrome of, okay, I'm going to say something wrong. I'm going to, I'm not, and then someone's going to laugh at me. And these are the kind of feelings that you get in imposter syndrome. I also had imposter syndrome actually even when I made partner, and I remember sitting at the partner table for the very first time, and I literally was invited into the club, and it was just men, all men. And I'd been in rooms with just men before, because, it never fazed me. But all of a sudden, you give me the official title, you allow me access to the official room, and, I start again having those feelings of, wow, am I really meant to be here? But I tell you what, you would not have known it from the voice that I put off, because going back to the mindset, which is the first soft skill, and it's probably one of my favorites. If you literally practice a mantra and you say to yourself, this is possible, I guarantee you will have more chances of that thing being possible. If you say to yourself, it's okay how I feel, acknowledge your feelings of whether you're feeling like an imposter, acknowledge your feelings of anxiety, but just tell yourself that it will be okay. Breathe and learn those breathing routines, which is what I did, and just imagine the person that you want to, or imagine the pitch. If you're pitching, imagine the pitch that you want people to see. Imagine the feeling that you want people to feel. So for me, when even now, if I ever feel nervous about doing something, I think about the outcome. I channel whatever I need to make sure that, okay, if I'm meant to be inspiring someone, I've had a really bad day, or if I'm meant to be delivering a pitch in front of a whole bunch of competitors, or I'm delivering a pitch in front of my colleagues who are wondering, why am I delivering this amazing, whatever the thing is, channel the feeling you want them to feel, right? Whether it's, I'm so glad we have her on the team, I'm like, we couldn't do it without her. Channel whatever the outcome is, and keep telling yourself that's how you're going to make those people feel that thing. And I think once you associate your anxiety, because that's what it is, in some scale, once you channel that with, or once you link that to an emotion, it's easier to deal with. Right, you acknowledge it, but you kind of say, okay, this is the end result I want people to feel, and then you have to convince your mind to catch up to that feeling. And convincing your mind is like, I always say, you've got to fake it. You do. And I don't mean fake who you are at all. I mean, if you are feeling that certain way inside of nervousness, don't let it show. And you can be trembling inside, but you take one long breath, raise your shoulders high, and hold your breath for 10 seconds.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Go for it.
I love it. Thank you. What a great note to end on. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope everyone does visit Fully Boss. Thanks, Ollie.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. I love Ollie. I think there's something that we can all take. And before coming back on, I took a breath. I hope you did too, Javeria. We've had a couple of questions coming in. One about the resources you've used to enhance your skills. So presumably the field that you're in hasn't stopped with the knowledge that it had when you finished the boot camp. What kind of things are you doing to keep your skills up to date?
I think, to be quite honest with you, I think the best way to really evolve in your field and your career is just diving straight into the projects that you get assigned. And if you feel like the projects you're getting assigned like aren't challenging you, then you should like maybe talk to your manager and stuff and say that you want a bit more of like a challenge, and they can give you those projects. The reason why I say that is because when you're on the job and you're having to design those new solutions or new infrastructure, that's, I think, what pushes you the most to learn, because you're now forced into a situation where you have to be creative and you need to think outside the box. And for me personally, having to think differently, having to face like a challenge, trying to come up with a solution for it, to me that's helped me enhance my skills more than like anything else. Obviously there's the usual stuff like, you can study more. If you are within a company, every company will have a certain budget for their employees to be able to study, to do further courses. They'll always have resources that you can access. If you're not, before, like say when I was at my bootcamp stage, YouTube was my best friend. I was always on YouTube. There were so many courses, you'd be surprised. People have put like practice papers, certifications, like so many things on YouTube. Some of these courses are like 8 hours long. So there's so much content to cover. And if you really want to get better, you just have to, it's not to say that you have to do everything in one go, but even if you just set aside like 20 minutes a day just to go through like something new, just to learn something new, then you'll be more ahead than you think.
Amazing, thank you. And for the next question, I'm actually going to also bring on our next guest, who is Ashley. Hi, Ashley. Lovely to see you. So our next question is about the gender pay gap. I'm presuming none of us are going to say big fans of the gender pay gap, but Javeria, any reflections on the gender pay gap?
Yeah, I think there definitely is a gender pay gap, and I think women. There's a lot of people. They'll ask the question, well, why? And I think there's the element of things that HR and managers and stuff that they can do better on their side. But because I don't have control over those things, I'll try not to talk about that side as much. But one thing I will say is mainly if you are a female and you are working, whatever industry you might be, because every industry will have a gender pay gap, not just the tech world. I think one of the things that we can try to do a little bit better to help ourselves is, because I feel like this is something that I struggled with, because even though technically I deserve promotions and I deserve pay rises and I'm good at my job and what I do, but there's almost like a shyness that you don't want to ask for what you deserve, because then you're thinking to yourself, who do I think I am? Like, why am I asking for this? Like, oh, they're going to hate me if I ask this. This is going to be so bad. But you shouldn't think that way, because you're good at what you do and you're talented at what you do. And no one's going to vouch for you the way that you vouch for yourself. So when it comes to these things, you have to put yourself out there and you have to be confident. And there's nothing wrong with respectfully saying, I deserve a bit more than this, and I deserve to get paid a bit more. So I'd say don't be afraid to ask for what you deserve.
That couldn't lead on to what you're coming on to talk about, Ashley, more perfectly, could it?
No, and Javeria, I think that's absolutely so amazing. You said nobody's going to be, nobody's going to shout your praises like you shout your own praises, and that's absolutely fantastic. So the kind of stuff that I do is I talk about imposter syndrome, which actually Ollie mentioned in her little video interview with you, and gender pay gap is one of these things we talk about. And you're absolutely right, Javeria, that there are things that we can't control ourselves because that's management, that's HR, that's the company policy. But that shyness, that hesitancy that we feel about asking, that's a social construct. That is because we've been raised to feel like it's not okay to ask for these things. And the other side of that is that the people who are in charge of those things have also been raised that it's not okay that women ask for equal pay either. So it's a double-edged sword. So I think, you know, sessions like this and conversations like this are so important, because if we don't talk about it, if we don't see it, we can't change what we can't see. And I was actually just looking at a few statistics about the gender pay gap and how different it is. And just to put it, you know, in a calendar form, we talk about, this is the point that women start getting paid to work. So if you think about from January until December, that until March, women are working for free. So basically women, and this is generalized, a lot of the data I have is American. I'm American, apologies for that. But women are earning 83 cents to the dollar compared to men. So essentially women are working for free until they hit that date in March. But that's just women. There are different dates for mothers. There's different dates for Black women. And actually there's a date that doesn't even happen until December, and that's for Latina women. You know, so it varies. They're only making 54 cents on the dollar compared to other people in America. You know, so it's a massive problem, but we're never going to fix it unless we talk about it and we share, and we're in each other's corners, and we're helping somebody else ask for what they deserve, because you all deserve to be paid equally.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. Well, thank you, Javeria. Thank you so much for your contributions today. We're going to move on to talk to Ashley now. So Ashley, hi.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about why I have asked you on.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Olympia. So I run Google workshops, which are called I Am Remarkable. So hashtag I Am Remarkable. And it's a free workshop. It takes about 90 minutes. And the whole premise is about self-promotion. Just like Javeria was talking about, you know, being shy and feeling like you're not allowed to ask for things that you deserve in your work. We've been socialized to feel that way about a lot of things. We've been socialized to feel like it's not okay to say, hey, look, I won an award, because somebody will think, well, that's bragging, and that's not okay. So the workshops that I run are geared around looking at the research and informing us why we feel that way, because you don't necessarily realize that you feel that way until somebody points it out. And then you go, oh yeah, I do that. I feel like that. You know, and Ollie talking about, she walked into that room and it was full of men. And even though she's gotten so far in her career and she's made partner, she walks into this room and she feels like an imposter. There's good reasons why we feel that way. It doesn't mean we should feel that way, but we've been raised and everything we see in our daily lives leads us to feel like it's not okay for us to be in that position. So you feel like an imposter. And the secret of what I talk about in the workshops is that everybody feels like an imposter. Everybody. As an American, I have bags of confidence. Like, I'm overflowing with confidence. But I still feel like an imposter in certain situations. And I have to work through that. And doing these workshops has really helped me learn why I feel the way I do and help me get around other things. And you did a workshop with me, didn't you, Olympia?
I did. That's why I asked you to come on. And the next few workshops are going on the bottom of the screen at the moment. The next of your free workshops. And yeah, and actually it was about a year ago, I think I did it, and asking you to come back on reminded me that it's so easy to slip back into those social constructs and those habits, and not it's not even about promoting yourself, it's about believing in yourself. and you know, I think it's probably one of those soft skills, that it is one of those pillars that Ollie mentioned, actually, isn't it, about that sort of your storytelling and about how but it starts with how you think about yourself. And I remember one of the exercises that you did was just writing down stuff that you're proud of about yourself, and we didn't have to share it with anyone else, you know, you could tear it up afterwards, but it was just taking that moment to actually acknowledge that you were good at some stuff. It's so rare for us to say, I'm good at this, and exactly, if someone does exactly as you said, we all think, oh, who's she saying that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the workshop is full of exercises. So, and one of the things I talk about is that self promotion, it's a skill, and just like any skill, you need to practice. And I sometimes think about it like a muscle, And so if you go to the gym once, you're not going to walk out with a six pack. That just doesn't happen. You have to keep going back to the gym and working on those muscles. And self promotion is the exact same way. So I definitely, hear where you're coming from, where you slip back into that and you kind of forget, because we've all got busy lives. We're all doing a million things at one time. And so part of the workshop is about giving you the exercises that you can do on your own, you can do with friends and family, ways that you can practice to be more confident, to get over your imposter syndrome, but also reminding you that it's okay to carve time out for yourself. These are things that are acceptable, that you should be doing, and you shouldn't feel guilty about doing them either. And just simple making a list of things that you've done that you're proud of can be. It sounds easy on the face of it, but actually, we get into the workshop and sometimes really struggle. They really struggle saying, I'm proud of myself because X, Y, and Z, and that's something we need to break, but we're not going to do it alone. We need to work together to change that future that we can make a bit brighter for all of us.
Yeah, and particularly, I think this is really helpful and important for people that are looking for a job, because it is a very difficult and your self-confidence is constantly being knocked when you're putting yourself out there. So if you are a woman or from an underrepresented group currently looking for a job, I would really urge you to sign up for one of Ashley's workshops at this web address. We'll also be emailing it out if you signed up in advance, because I just think so many of the people that are watching can benefit from your workshops. I know I did, and I will again. I need to.
Thank you. Well, I mean, you reminded me that not long ago I had somebody reply to me who took a workshop, a few months ago, and she was looking for a job, and she wrote back to me and she said that she got a new job. Congratulations. That when she was getting feedback about her interview, they said the reason they gave her the job is because they were really impressed with her I statements. She would say, I did this, I am this, I have this skill. And they said that was really impressive, that she was so assertive about what she was able to offer and how much she used the word I, which I thought was fantastic. And I had one more person who already had a job, but after a year having taken my workshop, she said, Ashley, I didn't do anything different. I just told people about what I actually do at work. And it meant that she got an award at her university in London. So she did absolutely nothing different. She just said, I told people what I did and I got an award for it. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I really do hope that lots of people take advantage of the wonderful free offer of your workshops. Thank you.
And lovely to see you, Olympia. Thanks very much. And good luck, everyone.
Thanks. So we've talked with Javeria's experiences. We've talked about the bootcamp way into tech careers, but another way that works for a lot of women is actually apprenticeships. And we've got Edgar from QA here to join us to tell us a little bit about apprenticeships. I'm only really becoming more familiar with apprenticeships in the last sort of few months, and the fact that you can earn money while you're studying, it's just amazing. Edgar, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to hand over to you to share some details about apprenticeships.
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Edgar from QA, and today I'm going to talk about our apprenticeship opportunity. And QA is the UK leading tech skill training provider, and we work with a lot of different employers, from small to large companies. And over the last 10 years, QA have jumpstarted over 30,000 careers through our apprenticeships. and we are the top 50 training providers from 2019 to 2020 and 2020 to 21. And 90% of our apprentices went straight into full-time job with the company after completing their apprenticeship, and 70% of our apprentices feel much more confident and better prepared for their IT career. And also we have the first female cyber security apprenticeship achiever. And at QA, we offer apprenticeship and degree apprenticeship that focus on the most demand tech skills. And we have apprenticeship from level 3 all the way to level 7. So what is an apprenticeship and how does it work? So an apprenticeship is a hands-on way to train from an exciting new career in tech. So it's a paid full-time job, and you will work with the employer, and you have a line manager. You also will get salary at the end of the month, and you will have also normal employee benefits such as annual leaves, pension scheme, etc. And 80% of the time you spend at the company, and 20% of the time of the apprenticeship you have training with QA. So most of our training are online now, so you don't really have to go to our training center or a college. And so it's around 1 day a week. You have training with QA, and you will learn and develop your IT skills, and develop your skills and earn industry recognized qualifications at the end of your apprenticeship. And your journey with QA. So you can apply for apprenticeship vacancies. We do have quite a lot of new vacancy every day. And first of all, you of course have to fill in your details and just upload your CV. And one of our recruiter or career advisor will review your application, and we'll give you a call if we think that you're a good match for the role. And you have to upload your documents and for example your IDs and your qualifications. And if we find that you are qualified for the program, then we will support you all the way. We will set up interviews and assessments to help you prepare for an actual interview with the employer. And also we will keep in touch about any other opportunities. And if everything goes well in the interview, then you will get the job and you can start your apprenticeships. So we have 2 successful stories that I want to share with you guys. The first one, Roberta, she started an IT level 3 apprentice with us, and she worked as a IT service desk at the Financial Times, and she completed her degree apprenticeship, and she was promoted to a tech and product role in IT governance. And another successful story is Stephanie. She was the first woman in the UK to complete a cyber security apprenticeship, and Stephanie is now working towards extending her skills within the cyber industry. And these are the entry requirements for our apprenticeship. You need to be older than 16 years old, and you have to have the right and you have the right to work in the UK, and you also have to live in the UK for the past 3 years prior to the apprenticeship start date. And you must be working in England for at least 50% of your working time, and you can't undertake any other apprenticeship or any other government funded program at the same time. And for qualifications, you need to have at least a D or 3 in English and mathematics, and you need to have at least 3 GCSEs at grade C or 4. And these are our level 3 apprenticeship program. We do have two different types of cloud specialist program and junior developer if you want to go for software. And if you're interested in digital marketing, we do also have a level 3 apprenticeship program for digital marketing. And for level 4 apprenticeship, we have DevOps. Is more related to software development, and we also have a data analyst and network engineer, cybersecurity engineer, and also if you only want to focus on software, we also have a software engineer apprentice program. For degree apprenticeship, we also have software degree and a cybersecurity role. And we also do have a digital marketing degree apprenticeship. For some reason, it's not on the slide. I'm sorry for that, but we do offer a digital marketing apprenticeship as well. And for a master degree, we offer digital and technology specialists. And also, you can choose different specialisms, for example, data, cybersecurity, DevOps, or IT. And if you are still at school or under 16, then you can start preparing for an apprenticeship. Maybe take some free time to build up your knowledge. You can go to YouTube and start looking at different videos that maybe how to program or what are the components of a computer. So enhance your skills before you apply for the role. And you also can work on your CV and start getting your CV ready. And of course, you can also undertake work experience. So if you can volunteer at a local charity shop, or you can also do some work experience at some tech firm, that would be great. It will look good at your CV. And these are the well-known company that we work with. For example, Barclays, Royal Mail, Vodafone, British Airways. But of course, we also work with some smaller scales companies. And you can find us on QA.com. So if you want to look at the opportunity that we provide, then please go to QA.com. Then you can find the apprenticeship that we have. So any questions?
That's great. Thank you so much, Edgar. We'll also be emailing out, again, if people pre-registered, we'll be emailing out the details of the apprenticeships that you shared. Thank you so much for joining us. We've also had a few questions about our boot camps. So these are the Generation Live. Thanks, Carrie Pye. I wasn't ignoring you. I just knew we'd be getting it to the end. And I saw that some of our other viewers also jumped in to help answer. So thank you so much to our lovely viewers that were helping you out as well. These are the next few programs that are the next few boot camps that are launching from Generation. There was also a question about age restrictions. So the Google Cloud Practitioner and the Data Engineering and Data Analyst courses don't have an upper age limit, but the IT Support Analyst with Cybersecurity and the Amazon Cloud Practitioner do have upper age limits. But you can find all of those courses and details of how to apply at uk.generation.org. Now, those courses are as much suitable for people like Javeria that have got a background in IT, but also for those of you that don't have any previous experience in any computing subjects. They address as many of the technical skills, but also help you with some of the softer skills that we've been talking about today, both with Ollie Akechi D'Amico and with Ashley Kent, some of those softer skills to help you succeed in the workplace. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you have found today of benefit and it's given you some avenues and things to explore to help you in your new career in digital and tech. Thank you so much to my guests, Javeria, Ashley, Ollie and Edgar. Thanks to Ronan behind the scenes. And on the screen are both the email address and the web address for the London Hub, where you can follow up on many of the opportunities that we've talked about today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks. Bye-bye.